Doing a voiceover today because
Hello.
the night before was not any better.
Hello. Say hello to my little friends.
I'm about to show you what's in my nail kit because today we're going to be stamping a design onto my nails. First up, we have this pink smug bag, and in it we have 100% acetone. That is for cleaning nail polish stamping plates.
Smells like acetone.
I also have this more natural nail polish removal stuff. I'm not sure how natural it is, but it was part of my Sienna haul, and it's an absolute piddly bottle, and you can see how much I've used of it. You can get a similar formula from other brands.
Smells like weird nail polish remover.
My next party trick is nail solvent. Now, I got this in Japan, which is why it's Japanese on the back, and it's the same base as my nail polish.
It smells like really strong nail polish.
These disposable gloves have been reused a myriad of times. They've even got a little hole in there to protect your nails when you're handling acetone and so on, because that is just upsetting if you get acetone on freshly done nails. These are some old socks that I'm using to clean up plates and get stuff off my nails. It just feels a bit more eco-friendly, though it's not, to use these instead of tissue. I don't know, I'm still thinking about it. Ideas welcome. My small collection of stamping plates, all from Maniology. What are you gonna do, Papa Emily?
Keeping on.
Yeah.
I don't think Antler are making these anymore. Why?
Travesty, look how well they fit. Base coats, top coats. The one on the right is matte, that's why it's funny colour. Cuticle oil, not one of my essentials, but nice to have. You basically unscrew, you've got a little popper, you put it on your nail and then rub it in, and it's got vitamin E and oils in, so it does keep your nail bed healthy, or at least helps to. Briefly, these are the colours I have. There are 13 in total, and I went a little bit ham. Tools. This is a stamper. Again, it's from Maniology, and the very top one is your normal stamper. It's clear so you can see through it and angle it, position it, whatever you want. You basically do that on the nail, it will become clearer later. This yellow bit is a shrinker, so you find any other nail polish bottle or tool and then expand it over it and then pick up your design, and then when you let go to stamp, it just shrinks it. So I've not actually used it. I thought I'd use it all the time, but I haven't. I initially thought this was naff, but Maniology clearly knows me better than I do. That mark is as a result of not being careful around plastic with
Acetone.
Finally, onto the more nitty-gritty tools. This is a cuticle pusher, which is probably my least favourite tool because you push your cuticles up and it's horrible. And then what you do after cuticle pusher is you get these snippers, which are a pretty nice tool. They're really good for hangnails, and then you cut it away. That is the worst part of any manicure. I impulse bought this natural lip balm that I just do not like. Now, rather than wasting it, I keep it in my nail polish kit. I just don't like the smell of it. And I wax up my brushes with it. So you're supposed to do that to help them maintain their shape and condition the fibres. A recent addition to my nail kit is a glass nail file. It looks really naff, but it works really, really well. And what it does at the end of your nails is it gives them like a glassy texture. It's really weird. If you haven't used it before, definitely try it. I love it, absolutely love it. The goal today is to use these two colours and these two plates to create a vibe that is best described as
Santorini.
out of season Mediterranean vibes. We go from this to this. I cannot abide having long nails, so longer than a millimetre, it just really freaks me out. How do you type? First up, putting on some base coat. I do not prep my nails by sanding them down. That just feels really counterintuitive to me. If you want strong nails and don't always want to have product on, I skip that altogether, and my nails normally last a couple of weeks following this process. We're watching this scintillating footage on triple speed, and I'm going to talk you through the products that I'm using and why, because I have put quite a bit of thought into this. This nail polish is Sienna, and they are an Australian brand from Bondi Beach, babe. So that's on the northeast coast. I want to say it's near Sydney. It's kind of not. But globally, when you think about Australia, it's kind of near Sydney if you are not Australian. Base coat's dry, so we're going to do the first layer of Winter, which is one of my absolute favourite colours, which you wouldn't think because I am pale as anything. But this polish is so blimmin' thick. This is why I bought the nail solvent, because I was just like, what is it? Is it me? But it was pretty thick anyway, so I'm pretty sure it's something in the pigment itself, not just me. So yeah, I bought the nail solvent for this, and you have to buy a nail solvent with the same base as your nail polish, which you wouldn't necessarily think about until you come across this issue, but just a heads up if you want to do the same. I added 3 drops that first time and it wasn't sufficient, so I've added 3 more drops, and what I'm listening for is the little balls. There's 2 little metal balls inside that help mix all the solutions together. And rightly or wrongly, I listened to be able to hear those balls move around, and also you can see them. In all of these clips, I'm painting with my dominant hand first, which I don't know whether that's a good thing to warm up because it's not warming up my non-dominant hand at all. I also use a really professional technique of scraping any excess off the sides with my nails. So, you know, minimal cleanup is needed. I can't remember exactly how I came across Sienna apart from the fact that I was in Australia, and again, they are an Australian brand, but they piqued my interest because they're supposed to be quite environmentally friendly, or at least environmentally focused. I think that anybody who tells you that they're environmentally friendly for something that is essentially a luxury item, just take it with a pinch of salt. I ended up putting 6 drops of the nail solvent in this winter one, but again, I use it all the time. You are supposed to add just 1 drop at a time to loosen it up, but this was so thick to start with and it's my risk, so I wasn't too worried. I was quite liberal with it. Sienna just hyping up being clean and conscious, cruelty free, which to be honest, if something is not cruelty free at this point, I would not go near it. Plant-based, which is good, but again, I just think that's a little bit of a cop out on the plant-based, but yeah, I mean, anything more natural and less processed is good with me. Not convinced things that are plant-based are necessarily less processed. I've just remembered how I've come across them. I was absolutely hammered with that advert with the dip nail polish, which by the way is apparently a repeat of something that was around in the 80s, so don't be too excited by that. First coat done. So I think I was doing a bit of skeptical googling around the dip nail polish, and then I came across Sienna and just was interested, but they are again a luxury brand. They are not cheap, so most of the polish colours that I've got were from their sale collection, which is still not cheap. They come in a glass bottle, and the wood tops of them, they are from invasive species to Australia, which is pretty cool, and they smell nice. Which sounds a bit silly, but I'm very olfactorily orientated, so I do just sometimes sit there sniffing the lids of the nail polishes. Not normally, but these wooden ones I do. But aside from the buzzwords, what I really was intrigued by with Sienna was the fact that it's supposed to last a couple of weeks. The reason for this, in a totally crappy scientific way, I'm not going to explain this very well at all, but it's a halal formula. When you have something that needs to be halal, because normally nail polishes are not halal, it means that water cannot reach your nail bed. So this nail polish formulation, because it is halal, means that it's porous enough for water to reach the nail bed.
When we review causation and nail polish chipping, an oft-cited reason is hydration.
So the water gets in and damages it, like when rocks chip. I'm not explaining this very well. I've not had a good week. So if you understand from the geographical side about rocks chipping and water damage and erosion and the words that I can't remember, it's similar with nails, apparently. I sound really skeptical. I mean, the reasons make sense, probably when they're explained better, but what I can tell you is that these nails done this way do last me 2 weeks. Guess who's back the next day with a voice almost returned? That's right, it's me, baby. Much like Ariel, I have reclaimed it. Maybe not. We're back with Tipexy nails and green jumper for continuity, and also because I have a limited wardrobe on the road. I'll show you how my nails have fared overnight. I think it's been about 19 hours since I did that second coat, and then I think I kind of want to do another coat because there's a couple of patches and a little bit of correcting I want to do. It probably wouldn't be visible at all under the stamping, but they're my nails and I want to do it like that. Literally Tipex to colour correct it, so yeah, I didn't realise it would turn into this, but here we go. There these puppies are. It's a bit gloomier today and I want to zoom in. So we've got the harsh light. It looks a little bit vampiric for now, but don't worry, it will go away. Most of these have fared quite well. There's a tiny, tiny scratch on that one. Not sure what from. That's not a normal finger to have a scratch on. We've also got some imprints. This hand in particular seems to have been affected by the bedspread press. So that would be me. This one doesn't, there's a tiny bit on the thumb, but overall they fared pretty well. I'm not planning on putting any extra of the nail solvent in here. Then maybe I should, because as always, yeah, it is looking a bit goopy. Let's do it, because we want this last layer to be pretty darn thin. I just feel like maybe we need some more. Maybe it's because I'm not mixing it enough each time. There'll be a reason. I just don't know what it is. I'm not too worried about the streaks because honestly under the top coat you probably won't see them. I think there's a fine line between it being streaky and there just genuinely not being enough nail polish on there, and that you can see the colour of the nail beneath. Probably walking that fine line now. Shouldn't be distracting myself with a Jaws theme tune. A highly sensitive operation. Have I actually done anything with that? I feel like I have, and that's the important thing. You know, I said I wanted a thin top layer. Yeah, this is not it. I reckon I'm almost out of this polish. This will be the first time I've actually finished a nail polish and I will be absolutely devastated. I love this colour. I love it as a base. I love it. I love it. I love it. I wish Sienna did nail solvent, because if the advice, if you've got goopy nail polishes, just put some nail solvent in. But there's so much of a focus of the ingredients in these bottles. That blows my mind. Sienna, if in the very small eventuality you see this video, please just offer it. Please, it just makes so much sense. Correcting that genuine mark there. Technically covered. This is after the third lot. This hand feels tacky, but maybe like it's ready for the stamping. I'm not going to put top coat on yet, but I could put the thinnest layer of stamping on this and I think it'll be okay. This one is Combi and it's pretty liquid. So this is probably how it's supposed to be. Aiming for Santorini, babes. I'm going to show you it and then I'm going to explain it. There we go, that's quite a stamp. And then what I do, waste not, want not, and probably not helping my overall situation with the white, because I do use that for stamping quite a lot. So I scrape off the excess, put it back in the bottle. So I'm just looking through this, looking at how much I like it for which nail I'm going to put it on. I'm positioning it over. The easiest way, oh no, I've left it too long. So the easiest way to get it off, if you're not talking through it, is to stamp it onto this while it's still sticky. Obviously that's not still sticky, but in my repertoire, I've got this silicone stamp that is pretty darn sticky. I'm also going to put you on here because I don't want to get anything on the surface. It's easier to scrape that away. The technique that I'm using here is I'm getting an absolute ton of polish and really flooding that indented stencil design. Then I'm using the scraper to spread it all the way across after putting my scraper down face up so the polish doesn't go everywhere. I take the stamp which I have to hand. That's very important because this stuff is really thin and dries really quickly. I then scrape the excess off into the bottle. I can take a little bit of time to put that stamper and transfer it onto my finger. I can then use any sticky surface to get the excess off my stamper because that will get in the way when I want to stamp again. My favourite is to use the stencil that I've just picked up, but you can also use the spatula, anything that's got a little bit of polish on. You can see how clean that stamper is. Here we go again, flooding, then scraping. I mean, the scraping itself, there is a bit of a technique to it. I can't really explain it. You have to try a few times to work it out. Not very helpful, I know. This process, it seems very particular, but honestly, I've got it down. I'm going to run that through for you a few times, and then in the background, we're just going to talk about Maniology as a brand, because I would be amiss if I didn't tell you there's a little bit of controversy around them. The law of stickiness. They're owned by a lady in Hawaii, and I don't normally follow companies' social news, but I googled Maniology because I think I was searching for a plate, and this came up, so it came to my attention. Why is your nail polish so thick, Emily? Oh, could not tell. Could not tell. Essentially, they as a brand didn't want to post about the Roe versus Wade situation in the States because they didn't want to alienate anybody. But obviously, for people who were very strongly feeling about it, rightly so, it alienated them. There's a bit of a boycott going on. I don't think that was the right decision, but I do understand that they were trying to remain politically neutral. I'm not thrilled with them. They do say beach vibes to me, but they're a bit thin. That's why I'm going to go in, be really lazy, not clean this off, and just use this one instead. I need to clean this off before I get ahead of myself. I just don't think this is it. I think this is it, but this was not what I was going for. I wasn't aware of this when I first was introduced to the brand. The founder seems to be quite pro-women's rights, so I don't know if that makes a difference, but just be aware of it. You might be thinking, why don't you use some of the rest of it to patch it up? But honestly, layer upon layer does not necessarily look good. It's always worth a try with these things, but I've done it before and been burnt. If you're going to layer, you need to kind of layer all of it. And I also could have fixed it on the squidgy, but I have not got to that level of competence yet. General advice is to not use bog standard nail polish on these plates, and that is just because of the level of pigmentation versus specific stamping polishes. I'm going to get rid of this big smudge at the bottom. But it works. You can just use what you've got around the house. And we're going to be a little bit risky and try to get another line in there. I think we are. Extra lining up skills, which I do not currently possess, but we're going to push ourselves. Concentration. There we go. No, it hasn't worked at all. I tried. No matter how positive or conscientious a company is, remember, they will only survive in the long term if you buy things from them. They are trying to sell you stuff. I first came across Maniology in particular because I saw Tessa Lynn Nails on Instagram. She stopped posting new things now. She is absolutely amazing and her back catalogue is beautiful. Oh no! Look at that bit at the side. Disaster. It's not going to be perfect on that one, but it looks like the lines join. Then it doesn't look as bad. Okay, that's kind of worked. Minimal cleanup because of maximal patching. I haven't really tried any other companies. I've got a few Amazon plates, but they weren't amazing. I think my overall position is I would still buy from Maniology. I think their heart's in the right place. I just don't think it was the most sensible decision for their target audience. And with all the media fire, I do think they regret it. We're going to commit to this side. 3, 2, 1, commitment! See, that's how quickly it can come off if you do this quite promptly. I'm pretty impressed with their offering. They do have some limited edition plates, which is just annoying for my OCD. 3, 2, 1, fast. 3, 2, 1, commitment. And then we're gonna oop off that side. There we go. This is my jailbreak now. Because of the designs I've chosen, but I think there's too much contrast in the thickness of the lines for it to really look cohesive. So that's my current thinking on it. I'll let it fester. I'll come back into a bit of a clean up and then do top coat because that is a job in itself. And then see how I feel. The lighting's changed, that means it's a different time of day. In a bit of an about turn, I've decided I do quite like these nails. They're not quite what I was going for. They do kind of say Santorini vibes to me, in that it's like Mediterranean tile. They're not perfect, but I think they're nice. I think that they don't just give Tipp-Ex. On this side, they definitely don't say Mediterranean Spanish tile to me. This one maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I think that I've done them really neatly, especially considering this is my non-dominant hand working. I could go back and edit all this and pretend that I got it perfectly right first time. The important thing is I've done this maybe 10 times in total and I'm happy. I've come so far compared to how I was at the beginning. I've got a little bit of a technique down. I'm using the tools that I have instead of just splurging on a load of stuff that I'm not necessarily going to use. Last but not least, I'm going to put a top coat on, show you the technique around that if you don't have the non-smear top, and then we're well away for now. It's a learning experience. Fantastic. I mean, I'm just happy to have my voice back. Because we're talking about tiles, I feel like a matte top coat is not the right choice. We're going to go with this glossy top coat. The absolute key with this is that you do not want your brush to touch any of the design, and that means you put more than you would expect of the top coat on your nail. And we also can only go over it once. As soon as you put the stuff that's got the same base as your nail polish on, or whatever this has got in it, because it's not non-smear, then it activates the nail polish again. So we're just gonna go in, do one stroke, and any adjustments we do to that, we are doing not touching the nail at all, because as soon as it touches the nail, it will smear. I'm all right to flood at this point. I'm happy doing that. And I'm being very careful to hover over, because remember, I can always go back once it's dry and do another coat. It takes a lot of concentration. Proof that it has not smudged, but I mean, it looks like I've got quite a bit on. That probably isn't as dramatic on that nail. The extra bits around the side were just washing my hands. I did the odd little bit of picking at them with my nails, so it wasn't hard to come off, and I did the white relatively neatly, so it wasn't a problem. The best advice I can give you, if you, like me, have a gazillion hobbies, a bad work person blames their tools. At the very beginning of doing this, I was pulled between going, I need all the Maniology nail polishes because they're saying that they've got high pigment and they're no smear top coat. Given that I do want to spend some of my precious life painting my nails, it feels like a more environmentally conscious decision than just going, okay, well, Maniology aren't thinking about this at all and the products on the nail polish side. So it's a decision that I'd gone sienna for the nail polish, and I just wanted to make it work. I was frustrated. And I was also looking at buying some top coat as well that was no smear. There will be a reason that you have the tools that you have. Either they are cheap or they're to hand. See what you can do with it, because if you can make those work, that is a higher skill level than if you immediately buy the next one. You still need that exact same technique. You're just gonna probably find it a bit easier once you've mastered that skill. If you get into nail stamping from this, just be aware that people probably aren't going to be particularly impressed, but you know what? You can be impressing yourself. You've done an amazing job and you can express yourself through art. and you don't pay 40 quid or whatever it is a pop to have someone else do it and use loads of acetone stuff. But I'm really proud. I gave Santorini a good nail run for their money. What? I was literally thinking about this months ago and I didn't do it, which means that if I have any ideas for like Halloween nails, it's probably going to be December by the time that I get around to it. But I do really enjoy doing this. But like with food and cooking, it's over within a matter of seconds. So you spend so long doing the layers and so little time actually doing the stamping that it just feels a bit counterintuitive. But I do really appreciate how these last a good couple of weeks, and the most irritating thing is nail grow out. And even though I have piddly nails to some people's standards, I can do what I want and the pattern is there and I really like them. I just find myself looking at them throughout the day and being both proud of saving money doing it myself and going, ooh, lovely nails. I'm working out what I want to see on my hands as well, because I honestly thought I would be into some more intricate stuff, but actually the basic shapes, I'm pretty basic. That's upsetting. I'm, bottom line, just really glad I've got my voice back. Have an amazing week. See you next time. Bye. And we're back to the outros. If you have any techniques that I can try, just please let me know. Honestly, the amount of time that I wait for nails to dry is just frustrating. Maybe the next level of this is just forgoing the base colour altogether. I mean, that'd be quite a cool look. It just feels absolutely ridiculous to be doing your nails over 2 days. Surely there's a better way.